Can I ask you something? Dr. Dubois startled Nick, who hadn't heard him approach. He looked at the doctor. What are you nervous about? The man asked him. He popped a piece of caramel corn in his mouth and chewed. As far as anyone on the pivot team could tell, he lived entirely on popcorn. If he ever ate anything else, they hadn't seen it. What was almost more impressive was how he managed to stay so thin when he never seemed to be without a bag of popcorn in his hand. No, the young engineer decided after a moment. The most impressive part was that the entire lab was not coated in cheese dust and caramel stickiness. That was the most impressive and certainly most welcome part. He returned to the matter at hand. I started a rumor that Jacob was dating one of the Diatech lawyers to make him and Amber realize they're still into each other. They dated in college and it fell apart, but they've both grown up since then. Anyway, they discovered yesterday that I'd started the rumor, and I'm still waiting to see if they'll kill me when they come in. Ah, Dubois said. With his usual blunt honesty, even at his own expense, he added, I don't see how that rumor would lead to them dating. Amber realized she had feelings for Jacob because she didn't like the idea of him dating someone else, he explained. So she began to up her game with how she dressed. And Jacob... You know, you probably don't care. I care, the man said, offended. However, I will probably not understand, even if you explain it. I tend to not understand these things. He didn't seem bothered by it, but Nick was worried. Does that bother you? Not really, the doctor said cheerfully. It's an excellent thought puzzle, for one thing. If I don't have anything else to think about, I can always think about social interactions. Ah. He smiled in bemusement. He was debating how to ask if he had ever dated when the door swung open and his two partners entered. His body froze, and he gave them a wide-eyed look, all his senses on high alert. Relax, Amber said. We've decided not to kill you. Right now, Jacob clarified. He put a bag of donuts on the table. The current lack of violence should not be construed as a binding legal agreement to continue in the same manner, however, and may end at any time we see fit. I don't think that's how the laws around assault work, Nick said. It's not? Damn. The other man took a sip of his coffee. Well, at least I have coffee and donuts to get me through this trying time. It does blunt the pain, Amber agreed. Would you like a donut, Captain? At first, Dubois had simply been Dubois, but as the team grew to know him better, they had learned that he loved nicknames. Obligingly, they had come up with new ones at regular intervals, and this was the newest one. It played off his first name, Jean-Luc, which he shared with a certain Star Trek character. He smiled happily at the nickname and waved his bag of popcorn. None for me, thank you. She nodded in response and chose a donut. So, what do we have on the docket for this week? Nick pulled down the whiteboard from the corner that they used for the weekly schedule. At the bottom was a complex series of colored dots representing the shifts of medical staff who were always present to tend to the patients in the facility. It was one of the many things that had become exponentially more complicated when Pivot had received the publicity and funding to expand their baseline testing a few months earlier. Once, it had been easy to stay on top of everything. Now they needed weekly briefs and debriefs, or as Jacob called them, briefs and boxers, and the whiteboard had become their most important office purchase. Jamie Mattis will arrive later today to go into the game. He began to write. Him meeting up with his sister in the game is our next step to start moving her toward consciousness. We've been in contact with her doctors, who think she's probably ready for it. They speculated that she would be when she asked to see other people. But this is all still guesswork. None of the doctors have come across any other cases of this before. How are Dr. P's recommendations dovetailing with theirs? Amber asked. This was the language they had decided to use to refer to Prima without tipping anyone in the lab off that they were discussing a sentient AI. Very closely, Nick told her, although she usually suggests things first. It seems like we've had good results, simply blanket approving anything they all recommend, Dubois added. Okay. Jacob? Jacob nodded. The most cautious of the group in this regard, he was slowly coming around to viewing Prima as an ally. Okay. Nick drew a blue line to indicate Jamie's presence in the game. The Mattises have agreed to put Jamie into the game with the expectation that it will be for an extended period, maybe up to a week.